A very good morning, everyone. How are you all? Students, in today's video class, we are going to study the first poem of Hornbill book. The name of the poem is A Photograph, and it has been composed by Shirley Tolson. About the poet. Shirley Tolson was born on 20th May 1924 in England. She had a huge passion on writing and was highly influenced by her father, who was a writer too. She secured a BA degree in literature from London University in the year 1953. Student, the poem A Photograph is a tribute to her mother. The poem describes three stages in the passage of time. In the first stage, the photograph shows the poet's mother standing at the beach enjoying her holiday with her two girl cousins. She was around 12 years old at that time. The second stage takes us 20 or 30 years later. The mother would laugh at the way she and her cousins were dressed up for the beach holiday. And in the third stage, the poet remembers the dead mother with a heavy heart. The photograph revives a nostalgic feeling in the poet. Now, student, let us see the stanza-wise explanation of the poem. The first stanza is: the cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. Here, cardboard means, students, very stiff paperboard on which the photograph was pasted. And paddling means walking through shallow water in bare feet. And big girl here refers to the poet's mother because she was the eldest among three girls. So, the explanation of the first stanza is that an old photograph of the poet's mother, which was pasted on cardboard, makes the poet recall the old memories of her mother's childhood. The photograph is a depiction of her mother's enjoyable moments at a sea beach with her two girl cousins who were younger to her. They were walking in shallow water with bare feet near the beach. The mother was standing in the middle and holding hands of her two cousins who were standing on each side. And the poet's mother was 12 years old that time. It shows that the photograph was very old, but the poet has kept it very carefully as it reminded her of sweet memories of her mother's childhood. So the photograph also indicates how enjoyable her mother's childhood was. Second stanza says, all three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera, a sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born, and the sea, which appears to have changed less, watched their terribly transient feet. So here, transient means, students, temporary, lasting only for a short time, and terribly means extremely. So the explanation of the stanza is: the photograph shows that all three girls, the poet's mother and her two cousins, stood still and smiling at the camera when their uncle clicked their photograph at the sea beach. As the weather was windy at that time, their hair was flying over their smiling faces. So the expressions on the faces of the poet's mother and her cousins were that of happiness and enjoyment. The mother was looking very pretty at that time, and the photograph was taken a long time ago. So, student, everything has changed. since then. Her mother grew up. Now she was dead, and the poet was reviving her memories only. See, the only thing that has remained unchanged is the sea, which was washing the feet of all three girls. So, the mention of the word transient, students, indicates the ever changing lives of human beings as well as the shortness of their stay on this world, in contrast to eternality of nature. So the girl's life changed drastically during this period, but the sea has not changed. So, the student, this stanza beautifully explains the transient nature of human beings only. And the third stanza says that some 20, 30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. See Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed us for the beach. The sea holiday was her past, mine is her laughter. Both ride with the liberties of loss only. So here ease means student comfort, and Rai is disgusted. Labored means achieved after a lot of hard work or done with great effort only. So, student, even 20, 30 years later, the mother would look at the photograph and laugh nostalgically, remembering the happy memories of her past. Mother would look at the photograph and the comment on the dresses worn by the cousins, Dolly, Betty, and herself. So, student, Sea Holiday was her mother's past, poet's mother's past, and her mother's laughter, poet's mother's laughter, has become a thing of the past for the poet, as her mother was now dead. So the poet still remembers how her mother would laugh at the photograph, remembering the sea holiday with a fondness as well as a sense of loss, because that time would never come back. So, in the same way, poet feels nostalgic, thinking about her mother and her laughter, which has become a thing of the past. So, student, the words labored and ease are opposite to each other, but describe the same entity, the same loss only. The last stanza says that now she has been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived, and that of this circumstance there is nothing to say at all. It's silence, silences only. So, a student here, circumstance means situation, and silences means make someone unable to speak. So, the last stanza says that poet describes recalls that it is nearly 12 years since her mother died. The poet is consumed with grief but is left with no words to express her loss or pain. So, student, the poet is totally absorbed in memories of her dead mother. The painful silence of this situation leaves the poet speechless. The poet can feel the grief but is unable to express it through words. So there's nothing, the silence only, the silence caused by death makes the atmosphere gloomy where no one is able to utter words. So thank you, class. Hope you have understood the explanation of this poem.